Well, how's it going, friends and family? My name is Amos, and on this channel, we usually talk about stocks. We do deep dives, we analyze everything related to the stock market, especially dividend investing. However, in today's video, I wanted to do something a little differently. I'm going to analyze and evaluate my YouTube channel for the past 365 days as if it's a stock. So it's going to be a little different, and towards the second half of the video, I'll be talking about the economics of running a YouTube channel, and we'll tie it all up, and towards the end of the video, I'll be talking about the goals that I have for this channel in 2026. If that sounds good with you, let's go ahead and get into it. I went ahead and made my mouse really big. That way you can see what I'm talking about, because there's a lot of stuff that's on your screen right now. Kick things off, let's talk about the subscriber count. I feel like when it comes to a YouTube channel, I would say this is the market capitalization, the amount of subscribers that a YouTube channel has. To be honest with you, I've been doing YouTube since 2005, and in the early days, from like 2006 to 2011, your subscriber count was really important. However, something fundamentally changed in 2015 to 2019, where it doesn't matter. These days, I think what's more important, the amount of views that you can get on a consistent basis. But anyways, in 2025, we started out the year at about 5,000 subscribers, a little over. And we finished out the year just under 19,600 subscribers. We were so close to hitting 20,000, but we just missed the mark. But that growth from 5,000 to 19,600, I still think that's pretty amazing. And in 2025, this YouTube channel generated 890,000 views, which is kind of crazy, but I can't boast or be conceited because there's other finance YouTubers out here where a single video upload will get 890,000 or probably like 3 million views. So for me to get 890,000 views collectively, it does paint it in perspective, but I'm still very happy and proud of that. And how did I achieve that? 231 video uploads. Yes. I uploaded 231 videos onto the channel. And in the context of a stock metric, financial or fundamental, I think the views is probably most similar to the gross sales or the revenue of a company's stock. So 890,000 views, and that translated into 112,000 watch time hours. So collectively as a whole, of the 231 videos that were uploaded, 112,000 hours were spent watching the content. I think that's pretty cool. And then of course, this year I gained 14,600 subscribers, but this is the key metric. When you think about and analyze a stock, you want to see their numbers being amplified, growing in the right direction, up and to the right. And in the case of the views, in comparison to 2024, the views were up by 198%. I think that's pretty magnificent, and that's why I'm in a pretty good mood. It's also the new year. It's 2026, by the way. Happy New Year. To see 198%, I think the fruits of the labor is, having this time to reflect, it's a pretty awesome feeling. I think if the views were stagnant or if they were declining, there would be room for concern. But to see 198% growth, dude, I'm so thankful for you guys. And then if you hop on over to the watch time hours, 263% more than 2024. And for the subscribers, we gained 220% more than we did in 2024. And if we hop on over to the content tab, 819,000 views, a 5.1% click-through rate. Ideally, you want to see this number be at least 8 to 9%, so I'm somewhere in the middle. If the click-through rate is like a 1% or a 2%, that means the video titles or the thumbnails that didn't resonate with the folks. 5.1%, not bad, not good. I would argue like a C+. And what that essentially means is that from the 11 million impressions, the amount of eyes that saw one of my videos, only 5.1% of them decided to click it and watch. And the views, it only counts if at least 30 seconds of the video was digested. So 5.1% from the 11 million impressions. And then the average view duration. So out of the 819,000 views, on average, folks spent about 8 minutes and 12 seconds on a video, which is kind of weird because my videos tend to be more long form content, very similar to like a podcast, right? I feel like on average, the videos tend to skew 30 to 40 minutes in length. To see an average view duration of 8 minutes, to be honest with you, I feel like people are clicking out and missing out on the good meat, the bread and butter of the video that usually happens in the middle or towards the second half. Because if you only watch the 8 minutes, you're only watching the buildup, right? You're missing the conclusion, the takeaways, the lessons, my game plan. So I kind of wish people would watch more of the videos all the way through, but that's neither here or there. I still think 8 minutes and 12 seconds is pretty good. And if we were to translate that into stock language, I think that would be the free cash flow, because it shows how much value each video actually produces after the click. And the reason why it's the free cash flow is the longer people watch a video, the higher the cash flow. So if someone only watches a video for like 4 minutes or 5 minutes for the average view duration, that usually only allows the opportunity for one ad, if that. But once you break into that 8-minute territory, usually one ad is a guarantee, and you might sneak in a second ad. YouTube's AI, they place the ads automatically in an optimized fashion and manner. So the longer the average view duration, the better it is on paper. And if we break down the watch time, 36.5% were from folks that are subscribed to the channel, 63% from people that choose not to subscribe to the channel, which I think that's a metric that we can improve. I think if we can push it towards 50-50, that would be a little better. And I think in a perfect world, it should be a 30-70 split. 30% not subscribed, 70% subscribed. And the modality of how people watch the channel, I think this is kind of interesting because prior to this year, I used to never consume YouTube on a TV. But somebody in Japan, they were giving away a smart TV. So now we have a TV, which is kind of crazy to say. Yay, we have a TV. So I started watching YouTube on the TV, and it's been a game-changing experience. I think the phone is very convenient, but the TV is a whole different atmosphere and experience. So I could see why 21% of the people that watch Dividend Compounders with Cheese do it on a TV. I think the computer percentage is getting smaller and smaller as the years progress. Because I think in like 2014, 15, 16, it used to be overwhelmingly computer, right? Like 80, 90%. But what I have seen, the changes, more and more people are gravitating towards watching content on their phone. And then also that TV metric is also growing. But the computer one is taking a hit and it's getting smaller and smaller. Just something that's interesting to see, observe, and to call out. And then this right here, I wanted to spend some time right here because last year, the demographics of the channel, dude, it looks entirely different. Because last year, it was like 99.9% male. This year, now we have 5.7% of the viewers being female, which is kind of crazy to see, right? Then again, when you think about the stock market and dividend investing, I feel like it's a male-oriented hobby. Personally, though, I think as the channel matures and starts becoming more established, I think I'm calling right now, I think the female breakdown will be 10% and male will be 90%. I think in 2026. So when I make this video again in 2027, unless I croak or get into a car accident, watch it, okay? 10% female, 90% male. And then this is the other thing I wanted to call out. Last year, I think it was like 70, maybe 80%. It was allocated for these three age brackets right here, 45 to like 75, 85. However, what I'm seeing now, it's distributed in a more even format. Last year, I barely had anyone under the age of 24 watching the content. So it is kind of cool to see a lot more young folks being involved and interested in compounding their money through dividend investing. I think it's a good thing. Me personally, I didn't get into the stock market until my late I guess, mid-20s. But I definitely think it's one of those things that would be valuable for all adolescents and teenagers to learn about how to invest, the stock market, and especially about building credit, at least as like a sophomore or a junior in high school. I feel like it should be a class that teaches them like an introduction of like, this is how the world works and this is how you should make your money work for you. Me, myself, I fall into this bracket right here, 35 to 44. Again, I think it's kind of interesting to see my quote-unquote age peers to be the biggest proportion of the audience in traffic. And then the top geographies, I mean, this one doesn't really surprise me, okay? I'm sure before you got to know me, if you saw one of my thumbnails, you're probably like, dude, this guy probably has an accent. It's probably gonna be hard to understand what he's saying. But then once you clicked, you were like, wait, he's a native English speaker. And that's why it doesn't surprise me that my content resonates with countries that speak English as their first or second language. The US, about 60% of the views. Canada, I feel like this is kind of weird. I feel like Canada should have been a lot higher than 5.7%. Germany makes sense. The German folks, I feel like based on my understanding in Europe, Germany and the UK, they are really avid investors of the stock market. And other places like Hungary or Greece or Romania, not so much. But just for giggles and farts, if we scroll on down to see which country comprises the lowest amount of views, it's going to be Chile at 161 views, Colombia 186, Ghana at 201 views, Hungary, Vietnam, I mean, doesn't really surprise me here. And if we click on the US, we can actually see it broken down by the states. California makes up most of the US distribution at 12.3%. And honestly, it doesn't come as a surprise that the big five, Texas, Florida, New York, Illinois, and California. Washington State, 1.9%. But if we break it down by the free cash flow, I think it's North Dakota based on my last... Somehow there's somebody in North Dakota that appreciates the content so much, their average view duration is 13 minutes, which is almost 2x that of the average, which is kind of cool. But what's the lowest? Which state just does not appreciate the content? It would be Wyoming. 10 views from Wyoming, 3 minutes and 51 seconds. Dude, what's up with South Dakota? Dude, your neighbor up north, dude, they get it. They're so much cooler, man. 4 minutes and 7 seconds. Maine. So it seems like a lot of the cold states, they don't really like me. I don't know what it is. And if we jump on over to some of the more recent uploads, like this one, roasting a viewer's portfolio that's betting on the underrated AI infrastructure, it got 1,800 views, 291 watch time hours. It gained 4 subscribers. Estimated revenue was $12, which is pretty good. If I jump on over to the reach, it got a 4.5% click-through rate. I don't know if it's because I didn't put my face, but one thing that I've learned is if I don't put my face, the click-through rate does drop a little bit. So maybe the face gives a little bit of trust and validation. Like I know what to expect from Amos, but when it's like something else, I think you guys will scroll right through or not be inclined to click. I don't know. But the interesting aspect about this video is the average view duration is just shy of 10 minutes, which I would argue is pretty darn good. So that's going to translate into a better revenue situation. So let me show you what that kind of manifests and looks like. The portfolio roast video garnered $12.10 in revenue. That's pretty good. Okay, and broken down, I make about $7.08 per 1,000 views. The reason why this is so high is because this is high. The lower this number, the lower the RPM. And in the context of a stock, I think it's probably the net income, the bottom line. It tells me how profitable 1,000 views actually is. But I'm gonna tell you this right now, this number fluctuates wildly. Sometimes it goes as high as like $8, but it's usually around $5 or even like $4. So when you see a video on the channel get 1,000 views, I essentially made $4 for that hard work, effort, and dedication. But on the other side of the pendulum swing, if it got like 5,000 views, if you do like 5 times 4, $20. So that for me is like a huge success. It might not sound like a lot to you, but for me, dude, I'm just super grateful because last year I remember I would upload videos that I spent like 20 hours working on when you take into account the research, the editing, the filming, and everything. And that would at most get like 300 views. Dude, it was soul-shattering, devastating, but I would just keep going. I would feel sorry for myself and a little upset for like 2 hours, and then I would work on the next upload and just keep going. 231 videos uploaded in 2025, and I think I uploaded almost 300 videos in 2024. So to put it into perspective, it's trending and it's going up in the right direction. So hopefully in 2026, the baseline, I'm hoping at least like 2,000 views per video. Maybe I'm being a little too optimistic, but that would be fantastic. So comparing it to last year's metrics, let me move my face out of the way. 2024, this is what we were working with. The entirety, 12 months in 2024, 300,000 views, 31,000 watch time hours, and we gained 4,600 subscribers. So after 12 months and about 300 videos being uploaded in 2024, I made $1,594. Yeah, it was rough. I launched this channel in 2023, and I remember at the time how driven I was because I had just quit my corporate job, and I was like, dude, I need to make this work. To put this into context, when I was at my corporate job, my monthly salary broken down was about 10 grand prior to taxes. So going from a $10,000 W-2 down to freaking like $200, $250 a month, it was rough because I was putting in double the hours for a fraction of the pay. At my corporate job, I think I was putting in like 35, 40 hours a week. With YouTube in 2024, dude, I was out of control. I spent like 80 to 90 hours a week every single week. I think I uploaded a video almost every single day onto the channel. Dude, I was a maniac in 2024, but setting that foundation and groundwork, I think that's what allowed the channel to compound as much as it did in 2025. And I think if you're watching this video, you probably got to know who I was in 2025. I think the folks that stumbled upon this channel in 2024, I don't think they ever came back because at the time I wasn't showing my face and the format of the channel itself was entirely different. Back then, it used to be more like a university lecture. I would have a pre-made 30-slide PowerPoint presentation, and I would go through each slide with no face. And I think some people prefer that educational format. And in 2025, I think I introduced my personality and face into the mix, which is an entirely different experience, right? And you're probably thinking like, why didn't you show your face earlier? Dude, I was in the upswing and the recovery phase of this really, really dark season of my life. Depression. Yes, I had really bad thoughts in my head. And at the time, I was not in a place or position to show my face to the world, if that makes sense. I was miserable deep down inside. But as I started healing my mind from the inside out, I started gaining confidence and my self-esteem started to improve. And that's when I was like, you know what? I'm going to start showing my face. And lo and behold, I think that was a smart move for the channel. Now, in contrast, if I show you how the channel has performed in the past 28 days or 1 month, look at the difference. So in 2024, that was the entirety of what I achieved, right? This is just in the past 28 days. So 60,000 views, 8,600 watch time hours. We gained 612 subscribers, and we made about $500. Dude, sign me up. I'm so freaking stoked. Now we're at a point where we can probably make do and survive in a country like, I don't know, India, Indonesia, Thailand. Let me know if $500 is a livable amount of money to survive in India, Pakistan, Indonesia, Thailand. Last year, about $200, I think it would have been rough and an almost impossible task to survive in any region or place in the world. But now that we're at $500 a month, I'm feeling blessed beyond belief because with $500, I think that's enough to cover the grocery, the gas, and the utilities. And if I start to feel some type of way, negative or upset about that, I have to remind myself, at least it's not $100 like last year a month or $200 or whatever. And just like with anything else in life, it's all about perspective, right? I could sit here, complain, moan, and be a Debbie Downer, but as a guy that grew up in poverty, a single mom household. I've been poor before. So to be poor right now, I mean, it's not a new experience. I know how to survive like a little cockroach. And fortunately for me, there's someone out here that looked at me and was like, well, he's decent. I'm married, meaning I have a spouse that has a job here in Japan. She makes about $21 an hour, depending on which state in the US is around minimum wage. And together we make do. Is it hard at times? Absolutely. Do I have to make a ton of sacrifices in order to make it work? Absolutely. And on that note, let's talk about the economics of running this YouTube channel. I think there's a common misconception that YouTubers make a ton of money, millionaires, right? But I think that's only reserved for the top 1%. And I think a natural question that might come to your mind if you're not familiar with the landscape of YouTube is like, dude, why is your pay so low? You're uploading so many freaking videos, and I just don't get it. Well, to be quite frank with you, objectively, my pay is low because we don't get that many views. If you look at the amount of views each video gets on the channel, we're lucky to see 1,000, 2,000, and sometimes it goes up as high as like 5,000 views, right? And that's why I try to upload as many videos as I can. But I'm gonna say this right now, committing full-time energy and effort to this YouTube channel of analyzing and evaluating everything related to the stock market, dude, it has made me such a better investor. And that's translated into market-beating returns. And I'm not saying that to boast or to show off, but it makes sense. Because think about it. I'm constantly researching and analyzing the stock market 7 days a week, dissecting financial statements, reading 10Ks, and looking at all of the data that would usually overwhelm an amateur investor. I mean, I'm an amateur investor myself, but doing this full-time, 7 days a week, it made me better prepared to buy high quality compounders when they do go on sale. Because I'm monitoring them all the time, every day of the week. And as I say this, don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to portray myself as a wizard, that I'm the best investor of all time. I'm not. I only beat the S&P 500 by a little bit, and consistently every single year. However, after some reflection, because 2025 just wrapped up, I think I do a pretty good job of price entry, but I could use some improvement in price exit. And I say that because I usually catch the bottom for most of my buys in these high quality stocks or businesses, but sometimes I usually jump ship a little too early. And I'm talking about AMD and Google. I feel like I could have gained another 10 to 15% total return had I have just held on. But as a wise balding man told me, it's never the wrong decision to take profits. If you get some profits and you can walk away in the green, don't beat yourself up about that. But anyways, I think all of that is part of the process of running this YouTube channel. It's not going to be easy, it's not comfortable, and it's not something that will make a quick buck. Because on paper, I would get a better ROI by driving for Uber Eats or something, right? Because I would at least make $18 to $20 an hour. But you got to keep in mind, it's the kind of suffering that I'm willing to endure because it aligns with the life that I wanted. This is what I always wanted to do. I mean, I've been doing YouTube on and off since 2005, and doing it full time has always been on the back of my mind. And besides, like when I think about it, every job that I ever had in my life, whether it was as an infantry officer in the Army, or when I was a pastor at a church. Yes, can you believe that? I used to preach sermons on Sundays, or even when I was a corporate guy that was leading a team. There's highs and lows with every single career field. What I have learned is that there's no such thing as a perfect job with only happy days. If that exists, then you gotta let me know. You gotta put me on. However, in this case, I have never been happier. You might be like, dude, how are you happy when you barely make any money? And that's why I've also never been more broke. I think it's kind of funny because I'm making a ton of sacrifices in order to keep this dream alive. I'm actually living the life of a broke college student. And I think if I didn't have a sense of humor, dude, I would have thrown in the towel a long time ago. However, in my 35 years of life, I've learned that you cannot put a price tag on career fulfillment. And I say that because I very well know the feeling of waking up on a Monday, going to a job that you absolutely despise while putting on a fake corporate face in order to show face, in order to get along and to do stuff that you have no passion about, right? With this, analyzing and evaluating stocks, dude, I love it so much. And the fact that I get to make videos for YouTube while doing that, I think it doesn't take a rocket scientist to know that I'm super passionate about what I do. And that's why I'm betting on myself. And I know and I believe that the money will follow in time. Yes, in comparison to whatever you're making at your job, it's nothing. It's pennies. You know, as they say, don't kick a guy in the balls while he's down. I know right now I don't make a lot, okay? I'm not stupid. I get it. So before I even talk about the goals for 2026 for this channel, I just want to say this, okay? Normally this time of the year, my personality, dude, I'm super stressed. Thinking about what I didn't do, how I could have done better, and putting pressure on myself to perform. This year, 2026, and for the majority of 2025, dude, it just feels different. Because I don't know if you can tell or not, hopefully it comes across in a genuine format, but I'm sitting here, or I guess I'm standing because I don't have a chair. I have a standing desk, and I've had a standing desk for the past 5.5 years. Dude, I'm standing here with a grateful heart. And I say that because I'm a first-time dad. My stocks are doing well. The Seahawks that I support, they're most likely going to go to the Super Bowl. I mean, don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure we're going to the NFC Championship game. You can quote me on that. The Super Bowl, I would like to say we're going to go, but, that's up in the air. So needless to say, my life's good, man. But on the other hand, if I evaluate this strictly from a financial P&L perspective, dude, I'm a failure. I suck. I'm underwhelming, and I'm a terrible human being. But when I think about the other stuff that's going on in my life, dude, I feel like I'm quote-unquote rich. This is what it looks like to chase and pursue your dreams full throttle. You're essentially going to be a 6-foot Asian dude that looks like he's 21, as you guys have told me in the comments section. But jokes aside, it's a path that I willingly choose every single day. I'm going to tell you this right now. Life's not guaranteed for any one of us tomorrow or for next week. Anything can happen. You can get an abrupt heart attack. You can get hit by a car. An earthquake could shatter this roof. It could fall down and crush me to death. But I will say this. If I croak right now, dude, I can leave being a pretty happy camper. Because I did what I loved. I did what I wanted to do. And I live my life with a sense of purpose. Every single day that I wake up, dude, I'm so freaking excited to go to work. So I'm telling you right now, you can't put a price tag on that. But anyways, talking about the resolution for 2026, my first goal is going to be simple. This has to be a non-negotiable. I want you guys to call me out on it as well. To implement and follow 1 day of rest per week. Not taking any days off is cute if you're David Goggins, but science shows us that a rested body and rested mind, it produces better results in the long run. And I have this really bad personality trait of being an overworker, an overachiever. I don't like resting. But for 2026, I want to redefine rest because I think of it and I associate it with me being lazy, me wasting my opportunity. Instead of thinking in that toxic manner, I want to think about it as like, hey, because you're resting now, the work that you produce for this upcoming week is going to be that much better. I need to think about it in a more positive perspective. My second goal for 2026 is to continue to detach from the numbers and to focus on factors in my control. One thing that I have learned is that when you hyper-focus only on the numbers and the metrics, dude, you're going to stress yourself beyond belief. But I'm a firm believer that the external factors will take care of themselves if you focus and prioritize on the internal factors, the stuff that's in your control, right? Like, did I show up? Was I consistent? Did I put in solid effort and research to whatever topic, video, or stock that we're covering? Am I making content that I myself would watch? Are the videos genuinely helpful? Is it valuable enough that people give feedback or even decide to support the channel? The third goal, with all of that said, Is it crazy to say let's go for 50,000 subscribers in 2026? I think we're going to hit 20,000 here in a little bit. And to reach 50,000, I know what I just said, but you got to dream big of working towards something, right? And it'll just be a fun KPI. It's not a make or break metric because subscriber count, it really doesn't matter. And the next 2026 goal, I want this to become financially sustainable. Right now, I make about $1.50 an hour doing what I do. And I'm serious, don't get me wrong, I'm stoked. Because last year, dude, it was like 25 cents an hour of work. So to be at $1.50, dude, my nipples get perky. So in 2026, my goal is to get that closer to at least $20 an hour. And I know that's a huge gap and a huge jump in compensation, but I'm gonna give myself until 2028 to reach a minimum wage baseline. If I can't make the math work by then, gosh, it's hard to say this, but I'm probably and most likely gonna have to just call it quits and get a real job. Then again, I guess one could argue what I do is a real job. You can absolutely call me an idiot if I'm being delusional, but I think we can make it work. We'll see. And speaking of sustainability, I spend about 60 to 70 hours a week analyzing businesses and the stock market. YouTube is where I share the ideas. Patreon is where I share the execution. My actual buys, sells, and how I think through them in real time, the real portfolio transactions. Now, if that's valuable to you, that's the best way to support the channel by joining the Patreon, or even by submitting your portfolio for a roast session. I'm gonna say this, the feedback and conversations that have come out of that, it's been overwhelmingly positive. But even if you choose not to submit your portfolio for roasting or the Patreon, dude, I'm grateful for you. Even watching the video, remember what we talked about, the average view duration is the free cash flow. By you coming back to the channel time and time again, dude, I'm so freaking grateful. Now, with that said, I love you guys, and I genuinely hope that your portfolio crushes it this year, and I can't wait to talk to you guys next time. So, having said that, have a good rest of your day, and peace.